That's when you have their attention. Most useful thing to say, you don't talk about the weather, you talk about your company. So the most useful thing to say is what the company does. Once you get that out, explain why you thought the company was important. So talk about the problem in the industry that you're trying to solve. So point one is what the company is, what the company does. Two, what's the current state of the industry? What's the problem? Number three is what's the company's solution for that problem? So very quick. It's short, you can do bullet points. I like 2/3 of the page text, 1/3 of the page pictures, because your VCs with the limited attention spans are usually visual thinkers. So if you're talking about market size, for example, you want to highlight that, highlight it in the margin with a pie chart. Once you finish saying what the problem in the industry is, what your solution is, talk about your market. You really have to know your market, who they are, if it's a consumer-based product, who they are, where they live, what they look like, age, range, demographic, whatever it is. Talk about that. If it's a B2B product or you're targeting companies, talk about where you find them, what they're looking for. Show that you really understand your market. And then the last question, which you should be able to wrap it all up in, is how you're going to reach that market to make money. Because remember, your investors with the attention span of 2-year-olds want to make money. So you have to show them how you're going to help them make that money. That's the last part of your executive summary. So very simple. 1 page is good. 2 pages are okay. I get questions sometimes as to whether you should include information about who you are. I like that also in an executive summary. Maybe it's the founding team. Maybe it's the CEO, CTO. You can do that in the margin. You can do that at the lower end. Include financials, if you can, in very, very short form. Remember, you don't have a lot of real estate, so just very short form. Try not to do that typical hockey stick graph that everybody has. Everybody sees those. But if you could do the projections where you show break even in next year, how you're going to get there, that's all helpful stuff. It's a lot to squeeze into 1 page, 2 pages, but it forces you to think what's the most important thing. I'm getting the 5-minute sign, which is good. Okay. I want to come back to, actually, here we go. Okay. I want to stay on this for a minute. Once you get in the door with the investor, it usually leads to a lot of back and forth, a lot of discussions. There's always questions as to how much you could disclose to that investor, how much you could feel comfortable disclosing, because a venture investor will never sign a non-disclosure agreement at that early stage. When you get a little later on, they will. And at the term sheet, you always include a paragraph that says everything's confidential, they can't breach confidentiality, the term sheet stage. So you want to keep showing them enough to get them interested in having that next meeting. You don't get a term sheet from the first meeting. You don't get a term sheet from the second or third either. Sometimes it's a lot of back and forth. You want to just keep the process going, and you do want to share financial information. You might not want to tell them who, you might not want to give them contact information for your main customers. That could wait until a later stage. But you do want to share enough to keep them going from one step to the next, and so you can keep the conversation going. At some point, they're going to ask you for a real data dump. One of the things I tell my clients is it goes a long way to getting you credibility, that you have your house in order and you have all your documents together. If when you're asked for that, you're able to say, well, look, I have a Dropbox, I'm going to plug you right into it, or I have a SharePoint site, or whatever it is. If you get that request and you have to wait 2 weeks to put everything together, forget it. That's not a good thing to do. So there's a very long-winded due diligence checklist on my website. It's a good checklist for you to go through to make sure you have things in order. And if you can put things in a Dropbox, set it up at folders in a Dropbox, and that way when you're asked for due diligence from an investor, it's a really nice thing to say, here it is. And I guarantee you that it buys you credibility. When you get to the next stage and you're actually doing a purchase agreement and you have some issues with reps and warranties, if you've turned your due diligence around very quickly, the investor will give you the benefit of the doubt when there are issues that come up on the reps and warranties. So, since I think I have 2 minutes left, other questions? Question? Okay.
So I guess it makes a lot of sense to get a lawyer who really knows this type of law.
Well, the question,
Because I am a general lawyer, you specializes in entertainment.
question is, when do you hire a lawyer, right? When do you bring a lawyer on? You know, a lot of companies engage right around the time when you start to fundraise. At the very, very early stages, it's very easy to get your company going. It's an LLC or a C Corp, it's Delaware. You know, you might need an agreement between founders. At the very early stages, you don't need a lot. When you start to get to the point where you're ready to raise money, whether it's friends and family or a convertible note or Series C, that's when it starts to get helpful to bring somebody on board who knows the industry. The industry, it's a pretty market standard-based industry.
Another question? No more questions. Let's
All right,
thank
great.
everybody.